if you didn't look like Marilyn Monroe, you didn't look good. So when you look at a magazine and it's like, oh, look at these celebrities and their beach bodies, and let's rate them from 1 to 10 and how hot they are. And all of those things all play into this little system of you need to change what you look like to be this ideal form that not very many people actually are, because it's unachievable.
Joellie Gregory is a trailblazing plus-size pole dancer with 40,000 followers. She's a body confidence advocate, a mom of 2, and a powerful voice redefining what strength, beauty, and confidence look like on and off the pole.
How do you handle trolling when it shows up?
I just think you probably can't do what I can do. And, you know, for me to lift my body weight upside down, the amount of strength I need to get myself upside down is going to be a lot more than the strength they need to get themselves upside down. You know, people seem to think that being skinny equals healthy. Just not the case. If more people actually looked into health and other ways to improve their health other than how they look, then we'd all be a healthier society in general rather than just a skinny society.
Hello and welcome back to Athena Women Today, and my mission to understand what it takes to be a confident woman in today's society, skin deep. And wow, have I got an episode today, because I'm joined by Joellie Gregory. She is a plus-size pole dancer with over 40,000 Instagram followers, and she is rewriting the script on what society tells us a dancer should look like. Joellie is teaching us that confidence isn't a size, it's a choice. Joellie, welcome to the couch.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here today.
It's fantastic. I've been so excited about this episode because I'm a dancer myself. And we've got so much to talk about.
We have.
We've got so much to talk about.
We do.
And Joellie's brought with her some fantastic items of clothing and some shoes, but we'll reveal that a little bit later.
Yeah, that's fine.
Shall we get started?
Yes.
Yes. First question that's far away. Joellie, for those who don't know you, how did your journey to pole dancing begin?
It began a very long time ago. Originally, I started pole probably in my I think I was about 21. And it actually started because a friend bought a home pole and she put it up and we all tried to have a go and we realised how ridiculously difficult it was. So then I was like, oh, I really actually want to be able to learn this. So I found a class in Godalming at the Fitness Hangout with Joe Dandridge. So I basically started classes there once a week, and I did that for about, I think it was 4 to 5 years. And then I got pregnant, I got married, got pregnant. And then I did intend to come back to pole, but you know what it's like with children. It kind of, children kind of throw a spanner in the works. So yeah, I didn't end up going back for another 5 years.
Wow.
And obviously over that 5-year period, I had gained weight. I'd had lots of body issues before having kids, but yeah, I basically gained a lot of weight over that 5-year period. When I came back, I was extremely apprehensive about basically being plus size and whether or not I could still do pole.
So your confidence took a real knock during that time.
It was more that my confidence had been knocked systematically over that period of time before I had children. And it was kind of only after I had my second son that I was just like, I've had enough. Had enough of this. And I decided, you know, I'm going to go back to pole. I used to love it. And yeah, so I've been back for 3.5 years now.
That's fantastic. And I guess in every episode, there's always that pivotal moment that a woman makes the choice for change. And that sounds very much like that was your choice at that time. Yeah, I've got to do something. Yes. I've got to reclaim back myself. Did you look in the mirror and just say to yourself, who are you?
Throughout my 20s, probably in my late teens, I was so fixated on my size and getting down to the ideal body weight, you know, trying to get down to the BMI that was healthy for me. And I was so fixated on that throughout all of my 20s. You know, I did calorie counting. I did like Slimming World. I lost some weight. I kept regaining it and then feeling awful. And I just did not like my body size at all throughout that time. You know, I think I got down to like a size 12. And that had been my goal. And even when I was there, I was just miserable because all I could think about was, oh, you know, I'm going to regain it. Or I was picking my body apart. Like, I don't like this. I don't like that. And after I had the kids, and I can't remember where I read it. I read something somewhere that was along the lines of like, your children won't remember you for your body size. They'll remember you for the memories. And it kind of made me think, do you know what? Why am I putting myself through this? Like, having to be on a diet non-stop constantly. So I kind of just got to the point where I need to do something different. I can't keep trying to get back on the wagon, falling off, trying to get back on the wagon.
Wow.
And it got to the point where I was just like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And I basically decided to look into sort of body confidence and basically try and move away from diet culture, basically, because it felt so damaging to my self-esteem. So yeah, I was just like, I'm done.
Do you know the term body dysmorphia? Did you guys have body dysmorphia?
I don't think so. I think a lot of people to a degree have it. I mean, I'm not knowledgeable enough to know, the ins and outs of it, but I definitely always remembered thinking to myself, oh, I've gained some weight, but I was happier at the size I was a stone ago, but I wasn't happy when I was there.
Yeah.
So I always felt like I was playing catch up with my brain. It was like, oh, if only I'd been happy 6 months ago with my body, I might not have ended up gaining the weight that I am now and then being sad that I wasn't still that size. But when I was that size, I was just depressed that I wasn't the size before. So it kind of got to the point where it's like, I'm not happy at any size, and that needs to change because I'm never going to get anywhere. I'm just going to be in this cycle forever. And, I think a lot of people can relate that their parents, their mums, their aunties, their nans have all been like that throughout their whole lives. I mean, my mum, bless her, she has always wanted to be slimmer than she is. And she's always been on a diet. She's always been saying, oh, I need to do this, I need to do that. And I just can't picture myself for the next 40 to 50 years wanting to be on a diet.
I wonder if that's where we're learning it from. I mean, in each episode, we do tend to rewind the clock back on childhood and delve a little bit into childhood trauma. Do you think that there is I don't know if there's one woman out there who doesn't feel that they haven't been on some sort of diet or not looked at their bum in the mirror and thought, oh, that, could do with changing.
Yeah.
And is it that our role models are the strong women in our lives, our mothers, our mothers, and they're teaching us that?
I think they are inadvertently giving us messages. I grew up not eating very much as a young child and always being told, you don't eat enough, and getting the nickname Skinny and Bony, My Little Pony, as like a jokey family thing, and always being told, you don't eat enough, you don't eat enough. And then all of a sudden when I did start eating enough, it's then, oh, you're eating too much, and out of care. And I think it's misunderstanding and misinformation that lead our parents and grandparents to push those messages onto us. And they grew up in a society where if you didn't look like Marilyn Monroe, you didn't look good. So it's all sort of generational, I think. I think that messages from the media, messages from magazines and social media all play into this little thing of you have to change how you look, basically.
You have to look a certain way.
Yeah.
And it's also cultural as well. And I think it's this particular society that we're in. And obviously, I promote diversity on this program as well. And it's sad that beauty is seen as a certain look.
Yeah.
Now, it's come up with AI, hasn't it?
Yeah.
As well. And you have to be white and thin, possibly with long blonde hair. And there's lots of stereotypes around that. And I think that's the culture that we're in here. But if you go further east, or certainly into down south, into Africa, it's a bit different there too.
Yeah.
What's considered beautiful. And we're just not exposed to enough of it here.
No.
And actually, you're not based that far from me. So you know a lot about the society that we're in here.
Yeah.
And the lack of diversity that we do have around here. So that makes it even harder for us to feel accepted as well in the way we look. So I wonder if you agree that those, whilst we're being taught by our parents, it's society, it seems to be that's what's shaped us. That we don't feel that was beautiful.
Yeah. I think it's a huge mix of everything. And I think that often the people making those comments have insecurities of their own that they're projecting onto you. And I think that, you see it when you look at a magazine and it's like, oh, look at these celebrities and their beach bodies and let's rate them from 1 to 10 and how hot they are. And all of those things all play into this little system of you need to change what you look like to be this ideal form that not very many people actually are because it's unachievable.
I am totally going off questions here because I can relate to so much of this. I'm sure so many people can. Were you one of the children that grew up watching Baywatch?
No, I wasn't. But I was one of those teenagers watching America's Next Top Model.
Oh, right, yeah.
And I distinctly remember an episode where there was a plus size model, and I think she was like a UK size 10.
Wow.
As in, like, she looked like a UK size 10, and they basically said, "Oh, how do you feel being the only plus size model
my
here?"
goodness.
And you're thinking, like, how is that plus size?
Yeah.
Like, and that kind of, those programs are all projecting out this message, and it's kind of the message that I think everyone's just got used to listening to. And if everyone keeps listening to those same messages all the time, then they're kind of doing a disservice to themselves, trying to think, people seem to think that being skinny equals healthy. That's just not the case. And I think that if more people actually looked into health and other ways to improve their health other than how they look, then we'd all be a healthier society in general rather than just a skinny society.
So Joellie, actually, that brings me straight into that second question. What inspired you to put pole dancing out there publicly?
Well, it never really was intended to grow the way that it did.
Boy,
I kind of only set it up because I was like, I'm going to do this return to pole. I'm a bit nervous that I'm going to be a plus size person in class. And I thought, do you know what? I really need to challenge myself to like look at my body and what it can do rather than what it looks like. So I decided to set my account up and basically just use that as a bit of an online journal, see so I could look back in 6 months and see what I could do and what I can do now. And I thought that might be a bit more encouraging to myself than focusing on like my size, for example. And I decided to leave it public because at the time I was trying to find plus size pole dancers just to keep my algorithm full of things I needed to see at that time. I needed the encouragement. And I just couldn't find very many. I think I probably found about 3 accounts that were plus size, but the vast majority were all your elite slim pole dancers. And, they are amazing. But I think it's important that we have people of other sizes showing what they can do. And I kind of just went on from that thread, right, I'm just going to leave it open. But if anyone else needs what I needed at that time, then there'll be someone that they can follow and maybe relate to. So yeah, I kind of just decided, screw it. If the trolls come for me, they come for me.
and that we were sort of speaking about this before we hit go on the camera, that what you see online tends to always be polished, doesn't it?
And it's really tempting to always put the polished version of yourself up because you don't want people to think negatively of you. But because I've always treated it as like a journal, it's got the good, the bad and the ugly in it. It doesn't really matter. Sometimes I just post things that are like I couldn't get the move, but I've just shown how I've been trying to do it.
So if we dive into what it is that you are showing, if I can try and describe it, Joellie's journal is literally a series of your pole dancing clips, your small clips, and trying different moves or sections of choreo, and you're watching your progression with it.
Yeah.
And I am fascinated by pole dancing because I'm a stiletto heel dancer. So I've always been tempted to get into it. And as I followed your journal, you can appreciate how difficult it is.
Yeah.
Because of the strength, the technique. And I had asked Joellie a couple of questions offline, but I have to ask them online now for everybody else. Your hands is one of the questions. And when you grip the pole and you're spinning round, I've always wondered.
I mean, as you do it, you do sort of get calloused hands, not massively, but like they do harden up, I should say. I remember when I first learnt pole dancing, you'd come away from class and your fingers would just be sore from gripping, because obviously you have to grip quite hard to hold. And obviously if you're constantly trying to strengthen your hands, your muscles in your hands are hurting. And I think with all of pole, as you progress through things, certain elements that were really hard to start with get easier. And as you come across a new move, it can be hard or it can hurt or bruise you. But as you get into it, it kind of improves. So I mean, yeah, I don't tend to have any issues with my hands, but they can leave a few calluses there.
And nails as well. Nails is quite important. Yeah. And you said it's okay to have full long nails.
Yeah, I've never pulled with probably longer than what I've got at the moment. I've never had an injury from having long nails. So
right.
And I imagine if you like the nails really long, you might catch it when you're doing a move upside down, or if you're doing transition of moves, you might catch it on your skin or something. But generally, I don't think there's tends to be a rule. I think the rule is no jewelry, and that's to stop the poles getting scratched up. So yeah.
That sounds incredible. And I'm sure a lot of the ladies who love their nails are pretty pleased to hear that.
Yeah.
Joellie, I just want to ask this question. Pole dance is often seen as physically demanding art form. What has taught you about your body and what it's capable of?
I think everyone who tries pole lesson will be humbled very quickly as to how difficult it is as a skill. But it's one of those skills that you don't start by throwing yourself upside down. You start on the basics, and as you gain that strength, you can then do new things. And I think I remember questioning one of my instructors when I first did pole and saying, oh, I'm a bit bigger than the girls here, so it's going to take me so much longer to get things. And I had to be reminded that, everyone's got a different body composition. Some people have bigger hips and bigger bums than other people. And when you're trying to move that mass around a pole or try to get it upside down, it is going to take a lot longer. And, for me to lift my body weight upside down compared to somebody half my size, the amount of strength I need to get myself upside down is going to be a lot more than the strength they need to get themselves upside down. And it kind of just reminds me that I am actually really strong. Sometimes, like when I can't get a move, I focus on the things of like, I just really wish I was strong enough to do that. But then I think back and think, actually, I can actually get my body weight up and over myself on the pole and hold it there. And that actually takes such a lot of strength. It kind of just reminds you that sometimes the strength isn't just like your muscles, it's your brain as well. You have to tell yourself you can do that.
But you could do that.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of people, when they see pole, think it's just somebody just running around a pole, or like, the dance style is just sort of, wiggling your hips and your legs a bit. But there are so many moves in pole that are very difficult. And even if you have the strength, sometimes you need the coordination and sometimes you need the flexibility. And in that way, everyone is different. I think I'm quite good with choreo and flow. I'm quite flexible. So those things are quite good for me. However, the strength side takes me a lot longer because I'm bigger. But in a way, it kind of forces you to look at the things you can do rather than the things you can't, because there are just so many options out there.
And flowiness comes with time, doesn't it? Even I know I speak for myself as a dancer. When I first started stiletto heel dancing, my first choreo was Doja Cat Streets. And it was, when I watch it back, I cringe because it was just so, there's like a move where you put your arm out and you kind of flick sort of thing. And it was just like that rather than like that. And it's to appreciate pole dancing as an art form. You've got the strength, you've got to have the flexibility, you have to remember the choreo and do it seamlessly and make it look flowy as well. So putting all that together, I can appreciate how hard it is.
Yeah.
And that's what's so great about your Instagram account. You're showing us actually what it's really like, not in the complete polished form. So, you do have some of your final dancers on that in your incredible outfits, which we're going to come on to. Before we come on to that, though, can I ask you, what would you say to women who want to try something bold, like pole dancing, but feel held back by how they look?
This is something I've overcome, because sometimes I've said to myself, like, oh, I really want to wear this outfit to a pole photo shoot or in a class. And I thought, are people going to think this, that, and the other of me? And I think over my journey have just said to myself, do it fat, do it scared. It doesn't matter what you look like. Everyone else is focusing on themselves. You just are focusing on yourself. And often you can kind of get bogged down by the messages you get around you. You can get in your head about things. But sometimes just taking that leap and doing it gives you so much reward from it. And often I find whenever we're learning a really scary new move, for example, I'll be so scared to do it and I'll think, I can't do it. I can't do it. And then I'll give it a go. Even if I don't achieve it, I'm so glad I've tried it, because it kind of chips away at that, that self-belief of I can't do that. So every time you try new things, you're slowly peeling back those layers of what's holding you back in the first place. Does that make sense?
That does. Yeah. Because it's finding what your barriers are.
Yeah.
And it might have nothing to do with dancing. It could have something to do with something that's come up in your childhood.
Yeah.
But just as you're speaking, and you will film that and you will put that out there.
Yeah.
And, even as you're talking about it, I'm just sort of sat here thinking, wow, so confident.
And I don't feel confident all of the time. And that's the thing. Like, I think there's a really big misconception, especially around like big accounts on Instagram, where everyone just thinks, oh, because you've got a big account, you must be so confident. I kind of aim more for body neutrality than anything else. Like, I do not love my body every day. I just choose not to hate it.
Oh,
you know,
beautiful message.
And I think that sometimes you just have to look at yourself and just say, I am a body and I'm doing my best. Look what it can do rather than what it can't do. And rather than thinking, oh, I'm not going to try that pole class because I'm too big, I'm not strong enough. You've got to kind of remember that everyone who's started that journey has been at a place where they weren't strong enough. They might have all been worried about how they look. I mean, I know girls who are a lot slimmer than me or very slim, and they have areas of their body that they will not uncover. And, you know, those issues are littered throughout all body types and sizes. And I think you have to just say to yourself, do it scared, because at the end of the day, life's worth living, isn't it? What's the point if you're not going to do those things that you set out to do in the first place, you know?
Joellie, that is just such a beautiful message. And I can't wait for people to watch this episode just to have heard what you just said then. That's incredible. Trolling. Let's talk about the trolls, because this is something we can both speak passionately about because we're on camera. So, Joellie, my question to you, how do you handle negative or trolling when it shows up? And what's helped you rise above it?
Ultimately, I just think you probably can't do what I can do.
Yeah.
I think, and as I said, pole humbles you really quickly. And I think people who've never tried it just assume it's going to be fine. I know I went into my first class and thought, I can look at that move. I'm pretty sure I can just do it. Absolutely not. And I think a lot of these people are on faceless accounts. They're too afraid to even show who they are in the first place. So if they're too afraid to show who they are, why would I worry about what they say about me? I care very deeply about what my friends and family think about me. You know, I'll admit that. Like, if any of my friends and family were upset with me for any reason, that cuts me really deep. But people online, I genuinely just think you must have nothing better to do than to look at someone exercising on a video, and all you can comment about is what they look like or whether or not they should be doing that or shouldn't be doing that. You know, I think there comes a point where you just think, I don't know who you are, so therefore whatever you think about me really does not make a difference to me whatsoever.
These comments, I mean, sometimes it's hard to tell. Are they mainly men or women?
Unfortunately, it's both.
Right.
A lot of people on my account who've seen the troll comments will often say, wow, it's women too. Women bringing other women down. Yeah, it is. Unfortunately, I feel that it's women who are very hard on themselves that project that insecurity out to me. Often it's sort of older ladies, often with pictures of their grandchildren, for example, in their pictures. And I think
that's surprising.
And I think if you're comfortable enough to say that to me, a stranger on the internet who's just trying to get healthy in a different way to you, what message are you giving that your family members and your children? And if your children and grandchildren can see what you're saying, how would they feel about that? You know, I kind of deal with trolls by calling them out. I often will screenshot what they've said. Sometimes I go on their profile and screenshot their face, and I'll put it up and go, look, this is what this person said. And I think, you know, if people don't take accountability for what they say online, it can just become a really dark place. And I think people just completely forget that just because you're typing it on a screen to somebody you don't know does not mean that there's not a human being on the other side of the screen receiving that. I feel quite grateful that my brain has chosen not to be bothered by them, because I know a lot of people would be really cut deep by hearing those things. And that's what makes me cross. And that's why I call them out, because I think people need to see that even though these comments come through, they do not mean anything. They don't mean anything to me. They don't stop me doing what I want to do. And they never will stop me from doing what I want to do. It's just, you know.
And you just did that recently this week. Joellie just put on her story, she screenshot some of the comments, and it was that Philip, got your number for it. And you nasty buggers. I give that.
I think, I
love that you called him out, because and you actually commented back to that, because I thought, when I read that, I thought, because actually you're showing us, you're teaching us that it's not. I mean, look, I've had trolls and I will just delete them, and I do like, and I haven't done that yet where I've called them out. I do like the fact that you called those out, because I think that sometimes it just deserves it, isn't it?
Yeah. I did go through a phase of replying to them and like
Right.
being snarky back.
But directly to them.
Yeah, like as in on, like in my comment section, like it depends what kind of mood I'm in. If I'm feeling a bit sassy that day, I might reply to a few. It depends on how I feel at the time. If I feel like I just can't be bothered to engage, because ultimately engaging with them does nothing.
Yeah.
It doesn't solve anything.
Yeah.
It keeps them going. And often these people are just doing it to get a reaction from you in the first place.
Or from other people.
Or from other
who
people.
support you.
Yeah.
They want,
I kind of sometimes will reply back. On occasion, I've had apologies after replying to people, and that tends to be more female people commenting. If you explain something to them, they kind of take back what they've said, or they've realised that what they said has come across so badly. But ultimately, I kind of think engaging with them is not a great idea, but showing the world who they are is a better way to go for it, because you're not engaging with them, you're just showing people what that person's like, especially if they've got a profile picture and an account that's open. Like, they're choosing to put these things online, they should take the consequence of that. So I kind of go in with guns blazing, really, with the trolls, because I just think, well, you've not thought about how you make me feel, so therefore I don't really care how you're going to feel if I share your.
And this is so topical, because it just came on the news this morning on BBC. Our number one tennis player has been trolled. And it's that's actually the gambling industry. They're betting on these games. And she had such a nasty troll about being put in a grave. And to have to deal with that.
It's horrible. I think we're in an era now where people feel that because you can write what you want online, you're just entitled to say whatever comes to the top of your head. Like, as a teacher myself, I teach children as one of my part-time jobs. I think it's so important that we teach children to be kind individuals, and we're considerate and we think about other people. And it's not about being walked on. It's not about letting them be silenced while others walk across them, but it's about being respectful to other people. And you've got all these adults across the country threatening people with death threats over a tennis match. And you just think, that's not the kind of society we want.
It's who's influencing our children. Actually, sometimes even the politicians.
Yeah.
Who are we watching? President Trump, Yeah. So let's flip that, Joellie. What's the most meaningful message or comment you've received from someone who was inspired by your content?
I think I can't pinpoint one, but there have been multiple people on Instagram who have reached out to me and said things like, I saw your account, it looks so much fun. I was too scared to go because I'm plus size, but I've just gone to my first class I've got back. I'm sore and making, but I absolutely loved it. And those comments always make me think like, oh, thank goodness. Like, I want to get more people involved with pole. I think it's such a fabulous sport to do. Like, it's so fun, it's so expressive. So if I can encourage people to do that, that just makes me happy. And alongside that, I have met so many people on my platform that I have now met up with in person, just as like making new friends through my account. And, I think that to me means more to me than necessarily a message, just knowing that people have seen my stuff and it's encouraged them to have a go and not worry too much about what they look like or whether they're going to be the only plus size person there.
It must be interesting because, like you said, you never set on this journey to become an influencer or an inspiration. Do you feel at times a little bit of imposter syndrome?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's very bizarre. I don't think I can explain it to anyone unless they've gone through it. When people say things like influencer, I just do not relate to myself in that way in any way. Like, I suppose if I've influenced somebody to go to a pole class, then technically, but at the same time, like, I still just treat that account as my own personal journey. For me, it's a fun account to log what I can do, what I've done. If I've had any fallbacks, I'll then go back and I'll try and work on it. I kind of just don't see my account as a job in the way that maybe an influencer would see their account as a job. And I do, I try and make myself say thank you to people when they say nice things to me, but it does make me always think like I am literally just a normal person. I'm a mum, I'm a teacher, I'm a seamstress. I go to pole for 2 hours a week maximum. That is literally, I'm just like a normal person.
This is so humble, but an inspiration.
I just found it really strange. And like, I try not to be like, Oh, I don't know. It's one of those things where you just don't know how to react when people say those things to you. So like, I'm so grateful for everybody that gives me support on my platform. I really am. Like, I'm almost at 40,000 followers now. And I just think that's crazy. That's a crazy amount of people. But sometimes in my brain, I think I just tuck that to the back and pretend that it's not necessarily the case.
And just to emphasize that, Joellie put up a post recently and had over 700,000 reactions to this post.
Yeah.
It went viral. So in terms of what constitutes as an influencer, Joellie definitely is there. She just doesn't feel like
I just don't feel like it. I think it's because we're told in like, when you look online, an influencer is somebody who gets brand deals and shows this, shows that, and works for that job. I think so. I think because I see it as like a job that somebody might have. I don't feel like my account is a job. It's just a passion.
It's a passion.
Yeah.
And it's who you are. And at the same time, putting out a message, like I said in the intro, you're rewriting the script on what society is telling us a dancer should look like.
Yeah.
And on that topic of what a dancer should look like, let's talk about the clothes. Let's talk about the shoes. So, Joellie, would you like to tell us a little bit about what you do other than pole dancing?
Yeah. So one of my many jobs, I have loads of things all the time. I'm a part-time teacher, but I also am a part-time seamstress. I run 2 businesses. One is a children's business, but another one links to my passion. And I make handmade pole wear. These are a few sets that I have made. I basically started this because as a plus size pole dancer, you can't find plus size pole wear very easily. And even if it says it's for plus size pole dancers, you will receive it and you might put it on and think, wow, this is not cut for somebody who has a big tummy, or not cut for somebody who has big boobs, or there's not enough coverage. So I kind of started making my own pole wear to specifically cover those bits that make me feel like I want a bit more security. So like this is a what size is this one? An XXL, but like I made sure that this part was wide enough so that there was more coverage down below. When I made the tops, I made sure that they had enough fabric to cover you and make you feel a bit more secure while you were dancing. So I kind of make from extra small all the way up to sort of 7XL, which I think is around a size UK 26. So I basically just did it because I needed it. And I think a few people saw that and wanted some, and it's kind of just developed from there, really.
I think it's incredible.
Yeah.
I absolutely love the back on these and the design. And please find the link in the YouTube description. But I was fascinated in what you had said. I never realized that in fashion, they just took a size 10 and just blew it up.
Yeah.
And
And sometimes the proportions change as you get into plus size. For example, I've got quite a big tummy here, which if I didn't have that tummy, yes, I'd probably fit some of those styles. However, because I've got a tummy, I need things changed, basically. And I think the best thing about handmade is you can kind of customize it. So, if you're saying to me, oh, but I've got a really big bust, but I'm quite slim on the waist, easier, I can make you a big top and make a band smaller. So I mean, I've had a few people buying these as swimwear as well.
oh, wow.
So my stepmom recently had my mermaid print. I haven't got it here today, but my mermaid print one. I made her one for her holiday. So she's kind of bought a set to use as swimwear as well. So
Wow. And tell us, so the brand is called
it's Foxfire Activewear.
Foxfire Activewear,
Yeah, and
which you can also find link on your Instagram.
yeah. I've got an Instagram account for it. It's on Facebook. I have a website. Everything's handmade to order, so it does take time. And obviously, with anything handmade, it can look a bit pricey because of how much fabric costs and time and all those things. But I just kind of wanted to provide something that I know I was missing in my pole journey, and being able to find funky clothes and things I wanted to wear, but couldn't find those because brands weren't providing those sizes. So,
Well, I guess that's something that whilst we're trying to love our bodies as we move into dance or start something to help us reclaim our confidence, our self-worth, I guess you don't think about what am I going to wear?
yeah.
And then you go to those classes, you're just wearing anything. And then as time progresses, you start to feel sexy again,
Yeah.
and you want to wear sexy things. And actually, I think
these ones have garters on as well. So some people really like the more sexy style. I mean, the fundamental thing is in pole, you need skin out to stick onto the pole. So wearing a crop top and smaller pants is ideal so that when you're doing sits on the pole, your skin of your legs are out so that you can stick. You know, if you're wearing leggings, you'll just slide.
I did wonder that. And I thank you for answering that question I didn't ask you about. I noticed that the pole dancers weren't wearing leggings.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of beginners do to start with, because when you go to your first classes, you'll be learning things like very basic spins. You might do a little bit of climbing and sitting after a few weeks, but generally, I think most studios will say wear leggings for your first couple of classes and then wear shorts. So I think generally it goes as your pole journey progresses, your items of clothing get smaller.
Smaller.
Generally. And I know so many people on Instagram who are just so comfortable with their bigger bodies. They wear so many gorgeous outfits, sometimes very skimpy, sometimes a bit more modest. Like, I just wanted to provide something that I felt comfortable in.
Yeah.
And that if people were like me and enjoyed the types of things I like wearing, then they can also have access to that. Because it is very frustrating when you're trying to find something to wear and just nothing fits, basically.
Just, like you said, you could even wear it on the beach, which is incredible. It's really cool. Which brings us on to my favourite topic, which is stiletto.
I don't think you've been waiting to try.
I cannot wait. And Jolie's just done a photo shoot and it is incredible, this photo shoot. The pictures are very hot, very sexy. Please go check them out on Jolie's Instagram account. But in every picture, and I notice when you're dancing, there's a certain stiletto you wear. So before we reveal them, these stilettos, are they a pole dance stiletto or is this just something that you like wearing?
They are specifically pole shoes. You do not have to wear them to do pole. You can take, I do one class a week, which is normal pole, so pole skills, which is bare feet basically, or socks. And then I do a specific pole heels class. So these are basically...
Let's reveal.
I like to wear pleasers, which are a very generic...
So should we hold them up from the camera? Which camera? Central camera?
Both.
Host camera?
Yeah, these are pleasers. So this is the sort of style that you would find, for example, in a strip club, because they're a very reputable brand. Like, when you feel how they're made, they are really good quality. They last a long time, and generally they're just easier to dance in than
I've got
standard heels.
Okay.
Yeah. I've got to put it. Which ones are you going for? The purple or the shinies?
Let's try get on the shiny. So as I've been watching all your pole dancing, I'm fascinated by the size of these stiletto shoes. And so you've answered the question. They are a pole dancing shoe.
There are other brands as well, but Pleaser is a very popular brand from the US. They look like they're going to be ridiculous and uncomfy. They are so comfortable because the heel part is not actually that steep.
I'm going to kick you in the leg. Get out of
really get into the hard stick because it's you really have to give it a bit of welly to get.
Okay. Wow. Oh my goodness.
But the idea is that they keep you in place when you stand up. But once you've got used to the almost walking on stilts type sensation, they're very comfortable. And, I can wear them for a whole hour's class and my feet are not hurting. So, I'm quite grateful for that.
Gosh, they're gorgeous. I wonder, for the camera. Oh my goodness. Aren't they incredible?
I mean, they're not for everyone. Not all pole dancers like wearing heels. Not all pole dancers like wearing barefoot. It is totally everyone's choice as to what they do. Pre-kids, I didn't like the look of these at all. But and I would never have worn them. However, after having kids, I kind of did one class in heels and I was like, I love them. And then I bought loads. So I have a big collection of shoes.
So I'm going to try on the other one now.
Yes.
Yeah.
These are very, very comfy. They are, because they give you a bit more ankle support.
And I'm a size 6.
Yeah, these are a size 6.
But these are perfectly comfortable.
Yes.
And
they've got the padded base, which really helps. I mean, they are designed for people working in strip clubs that are working there for 6 hour, 7 hour, 8 hour shifts. So they need to be able to wear them all day, So they are very well made and very comfortable. I think you wouldn't necessarily wear high street shoes to a
I can
park.
feel how comfortable that
I mean, you
I
can, but I think your feet would hurt.
I'm actually going to try to stand up. Just on the couch there. God, they're amazing.
These are some of my favourite ones.
They're amazing. I hope that we've got that on camera. Wow. Wow. I might just do the cleaning in the house with them on.
Yeah, when especially these ones with the plastic on, they take a little bit of time to mold to your shape of your foot because the plastic is so tough.
Yeah.
But sometimes it is nice just to put them on and be like, oh, pretty shoes.
I do that sometimes. If I've just done a dance class and I'm sitting in my heels, I carry on in the house.
But I think there's something empowering about wearing heels, isn't there?
There is.
It's like, just makes you feel good.
So see, but yeah, you mentioned strip clubs. And let's talk about that because this is where we think pole dancing is from.
Yeah.
And why it was created. It was created for the pleasure of men, right? But actually, it's not like that now.
I mean, I think it's women feeling empowered by their sexuality and being able to express themselves. And obviously, women who are confident enough in that to make money from that, all for about. I have never denied the roots of pole being from strip clubs. I think, I can't fact check this, but I'm pretty sure it was Black-owned strip clubs that first started developing this style of dance.
Wow.
And while lots of the moves that we do today might have slight influences from other things like Chinese pole, a lot of the moves that we learn are actually named after strippers that created those moves. So, I think it's quite controversial because a lot of people are not keen on the idea of sex work and things like that. But ultimately, these women are feeling empowered. They are doing what they want to do. They're choosing to do that, and they're doing a really good job of it. I follow some sex workers on Instagram, and they're having a great time. They work very hard, very, very hard. I would not be able to dance for as long as they do.
Yeah.
As a job. I think that's a stigma that needs to kind of come down a bit.
Yeah.
I think people get very defensive when they do pole and say, oh, I don't do that. I do pole fitness.
But I can,
but it's all part of it. If you have to kind of embrace the whole culture of it, really.
I can resonate with this. So I first started to get into stiletto heel dancing because my confidence was at an all-time low. And I thought, at the time, I would like to learn a chair dance by my husband. So I Googled ballet.
Yeah.
And then found my teacher. And like I'd said earlier, the first choreo we did was Street's Doja Cat with the chair. And it was after quite some time because I'd never done anything like this before. It took me quite a while just to learn this. When I look at it now, it's a real basic routine, really, but it was hard.
Yeah,
it was very high. And it just stopped being about my husband and kind of like doing this dance for him. And it was all about me. And it was an incredible journey. Slowly, I started to learn to love my body. I had to touch my body in ways I'd never touched it before.
Yeah.
You had to move your body in ways that you hadn't before. And like we discussed earlier, the flowiness of it. And yeah, when I look back, I look quite robotic, but it's just the journey that's taken me on. And I'm naturally now just dancing in a kind of flowy way.
Yeah.
But it's really given me so much confidence. And we're doing a lot more difficult routines. And I'm just so thankful that I got into dancing.
Yeah.
And that's kind of my journey with it. But I think that's very similar for you.
It is. I look back at some of my first pole videos. I still have pole footage from before I had kids. I was a lot slimmer, a lot stronger because I was slimmer. I hadn't had kids, so I was a lot less tired. And sometimes I think, I look back at pre-kids stuff and then look at now and I think, I'm so much more flowier now.
Yeah.
And even though I'm not as strong as I maybe once was before, I don't look as skinny as I was. I've improved in so many other ways. So yeah, I definitely think that something I say is pole for the soul.
That's really big.
Pole for the soul. It makes you happy. It makes I love it. It's the only sort of form of exercise I've ever really stuck to. I mean, dancing is something I've done a lot throughout my life. Like I did dancing as a child and a teenager. Then I sort of did the Zumba phase that everyone did. But pole has been one of those things that I just keep coming back to. I think because of the strength element in it, it kind of just makes you feel really empowered when you can do something.
You can have a poll at home.
I've got a poll at home.
I'm trying to
Yeah.
get my head around how is that attached?
There's two. You can have a stage pole, which is basically a big round heavy stage, which you set up in sections, and then you have a pole that you slot into it.
Right.
And it doesn't touch the ceiling.
Okay.
So it's a bit more wobbly.
Yeah.
For that reason. Or you can have a home pole, which is essentially pressure mounted. So it has like a big dome at the top, and you basically unwind it and the dome goes up and presses into the ceiling. Right. So basically it's pressing between the floor and the ceiling. You put it on like a joist. So
which one do you?
I have a pressure mounted at home. So like I know where the joist is in the ceiling.
Yeah.
So I basically locate that and then you put it up there so it's obviously stable. And I do a lot of testing to make sure I'm not going to fall over. But in studios, they tend to have special, I'm not really sure what they're called, but they basically have things fixed into the joist. So they screw them into that. So it's a lot more, there's no chance of it slipping out in a studio generally.
Right.
So
Okay.
but home one
That's really interesting.
good fun.
Yeah. Jolie, who or what gives you confidence when you need it the most?
I think hands down, it has to be my pole instructor, Jen, because she's the one there encouraging you every time that you're trying something new. She'll spot me. So sometimes if I'm not used to a move, she will stand with me and she'll guide me into the move or basically coach me as I go. So even if I'm feeling really nervous about something, you just know she's going to be there if you need her to. But also she'll take a step back when she feels that you've got it, if you know what I mean. And I think having such an inclusive instructor in pole has been probably one of the pivotal things for me in why I've continued it. I think if I'd have gone to classes and felt like I was being held back because of my size, like you can't try that because you can't do X, Y, and Z yet, I think I probably wouldn't have had such a successful return to pole.
That's the power of suggestion. I interviewed a clinical hypnotherapist, Helen, on the last episode. That's exactly what she spoke about. How, you feed an idea, isn't it? So your instructor's positive, she's encouraging you. This is what we're talking about, guys. Women supporting other women. Let's not bash each other. Let's support each other.
Exactly.
Because in supporting each other, look where we get to.
Yeah, definitely. And it's things like if I can't do something in the way that she's shown it, she will give me an alternative way to do things. And I feel like she genuinely understands that my body is different from other bodies. And not just me, but everyone in our class. Some people are not as flexible. And she always seems to have a little trick or a way to adapt what's going on to suit everybody's different needs for their bodies. So I definitely think like when I'm having a bit of a slump or I'm feeling a bit down about not being able to do something, I feel like it's always Jen that I can sort of rely on to sort of help me achieve something to make it feel like a successful time.
And actually balance that with the visit to the doctor. So you, on one hand, you've got someone who's incredibly supportive. And again, it came up in the last episode, the doctor, power of suggestion. And the doctor saying, you can't do that because you're overweight. You need to lose weight. And this is something that you've experienced.
Yeah, I get quite frustrated hearing stories about this as well. I mean, obviously, I'm not medically trained in any way, and I've done my own research into health and well-being in a bigger body. But it is very common to go to the doctors and be met with, oh, well, have you thought about losing weight? Their first port of call is to try and get you to lose weight. When sometimes those symptoms have nothing to do with your weight or aren't even linked in any way to being obese. I think I went in because I was getting carpal tunnel syndrome sort of symptoms. Like I was getting like numb hands and numb fingers. And I basically went in to say, I think I've got a trapped nerve. Can you refer me to physio for it? And, I think one of the first things she said was, I don't want to assume anything, it would help if you changed your diet and lost some weight. And it's kind of a bit like, oh yeah, that's not what I came in for though. And it's kind of, I was expecting it because I know so many people who've had the same experience. And I think she was quite embarrassed to bring it up. She seemed quite embarrassed to talk about it. But ultimately, I think medical care is so orientated around, well, if they lose the weight, it will show whether or not that's still a problem. And I think that there's this misconception that losing weight will just solve all of your medical problems. But there are people that are skinny with carpal tunnel. There are people who are mid-sized with carpal tunnel. There are people who do no exercise and have the worst, health And then you have plus size people who are very fit and healthy. And, you know, I think that there's just this barrier, it seems, for people being able to like access what they need. I mean, ultimately, then that conversation ended with, well, we'll do a blood test. I'm going to make sure there's a diabetes blood test in there.
Wow.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, again, it's kind of like stereotyping.
Yeah.
So she was like, I'll do a blood test, but I do think you need to cut back on doing, because I said I did pole, you need to cut back on doing such extreme exercising and instead try and focus on losing weight. And it's kind of like a doctor's actually suggesting that I'm less active, which to me is crazy, you know. And I'm not denying that there are some situations in which losing weight can help medical problems, because that absolutely can happen. But a lot of the symptoms that people are going in for that are being met with weight loss could also be fixed with, you know, things that slim people get.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of women that will go into the doctors, and if it's mentioned, they'll say, okay, can you treat me like I'm not a fat person? Because what would you recommend to someone who's in a smaller body? Because actually we all deserve the same health care. And sometimes I think doctors forget how difficult it is for some people to lose weight. It's not just a case of eat less, move more, because there are loads of different reasons.
And it's about body type as
it
well.
It's about genetics.
Yeah.
It's about your income levels. You know, higher income families tend to be slimmer. You know, they've got more resources at their hands for help and support. You know, you've got medical conditions and medications. There are just so many reasons why someone might be bigger or struggling to lose weight. You know, having struggled to lose weight the entirety of my 20s, and then coming out of the end of that with really bad body image and issues with food, it's kind of like, actually for me, it's healthier to be bigger, but focusing on all of these other health situations rather than putting all my energy into trying to shrink myself.
I love that you've come onto this show and you are changing what we think about what is sexy and confidence. And I watch stiletto heel dancers, and you see a group of them and all different body types. And actually, it's just about confidence.
Yeah.
You can look so sexy if you're confident.
Yeah.
And it really is about finding that confidence,
Yeah.
isn't it?
It is.
And I think that that's going to bring me on to my last question, Jolie. If a listener is struggling to feel confident in their skin, what would you say to them right now?
I think the key thing is not to aim for wanting to wear lingerie and strutting about. Aim for that neutral point. Aim to feel neutral with yourself. You know, I remember when I was on my journey, standing in front of the mirror, letting those negative thoughts come up and saying to myself, okay, that was a negative thought. How can I be kinder to myself? You know, and just almost retraining your brain to thinking, actually, this is just a body. It's just a body at the end of the day. And you kind of get yourself to this neutral point where you think, I'm just a normal person. It's just skin. We're all normal. Everybody's a different shape and size. And I think from there, you can kind of start to enjoy little things. And I think actually from enjoying new experiences and meeting new people, that boosts your confidence up anyway. I think the more comfortable you get with yourself and not berating yourself for how you look or how you feel about yourself, like those things lead to confidence. So while I can't give anyone a quick fix to getting confident, it was a long process for me, and I still don't feel confident all of the time. But I think being neutral with myself and just letting myself be without berating myself. Basically treat yourself like you would treat a friend, because you absolutely would not stand in front of a friend and go, that's a bit, you know, that's a bit jiggly today, isn't it? That's got stretch mark. You just wouldn't do it. But we do it, but people do it to themselves. So yeah,
it's a lovely message. And I think that is a great way to end this episode. Just let yourself be. Find that neutral position in your body. It's just skin. This is what Jolie is teaching us today. And thank you so much for coming on. It's been really good fun. I've absolutely loved it. I'm sure everybody else has. And guys, please go look for Jolie's links in the YouTube description. And thank you for watching. And I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.